This is Teachers Talk Radio, and you are listening live.
Good evening and Happy New Year, everyone. Welcome to our Wednesday Twilight show. I'm your host, Michelle, and joining me tonight is a stalwart of the profession, Mr. Stuart Lodge. Together, we will discuss the topic, Teaching with Tenacity. How do teachers sustain passion beyond a decade? What is the secret? Stay tuned.
This is Teachers Talk Radio, and you are listening live. Tune in live at ttradio.org, or to join in the conversation, download the Podbean app and search Teachers Talk Radio. Follow the hashtag TTRadio. Tune in, talk it out with Teachers Talk Radio.
Hello again, everyone. Hello, it is so good to be back. Welcome to my first show of 2025, the first of many, I hope. Thank you all for downloading the episodes so far, for tuning in throughout 2024, and for making the Wednesday Twilight show the success it has been. I could not have done it without you all, so thank you so much. This year, I hope to bring you more engaging topics that will serve as CPD. It will empower and motivate all listeners, especially those of you in education. And let me just say, last minute, but we've made it on air and live. Welcome to those who've already joined us. I can see Arlene Martin, all the way from Jamaica. Thank you so much, my sis, for joining. We've got three others I can see. Can't see your name. I see your login name, Kid Star, and everybody else. Welcome and Happy New Year. And for all of the listeners, wherever you're listening from, thank you so much for joining. Tonight promises to be a very insightful show, one that you should have a lot of takeaways from. So let's get started. So first of all, let me welcome my very special guest, and that is the very astute and passionate Mr. Stuart Lodge, a dedicated teacher and middle leader, currently leading English, drama, and music. So I met Stuart approximately 10 years ago, and his drive and commitment to the success of his students was immediately apparent. I remember that interview so well, Stuart, where you left and you were the last of the candidates, and I literally chased you down the steps to ask you to come back because we had already made our decision. And that's because we saw that passion. His career has so far spanned 24 years. And as he noted, that could have been longer. However, his training was put on hold because of Section 28, for those of you who are familiar with that. But I'm so happy that time has moved on, because the profession would have missed out on an invaluable practitioner. He has worked thus far in various capacities in both senior and middle leadership, and started as an NQT in, as he said, a challenging school in West London. And I would say baptism by fire, back in the day especially. But it's a great way to build resilience, as he has proven. As a believer in ongoing professional development, Stuart has completed his senior leadership apprenticeship and is currently pursuing his master's in senior leadership. Tonight, I look forward to hearing his insight on how to sustain your passion in the classroom after being in the classroom for a long time. So remember, listeners, you can call in or send us a message by downloading the Podbean app. Let us hear what has been your experience on your journey to leadership, on your journey as a teacher in the classroom. If you've been teaching for a long time, it doesn't have to be 10 years or so on, but what has been your journey? Whether you're in leadership or you're a classroom teacher, what has it been like? How do you maintain the passion? How do you maintain the joy of turning up every single day and delivering in the classroom? So before Stuart comes online and before we start the questioning and hear from him, I'm just going to take a short break and listen to some of our sponsors. So do stay tuned. I will be right back.
This show is brought to you in partnership with John Catt Educational, publishers of professional development books and resources that support great teaching and learning in schools around the world. Don't miss out. Level up your professional development today and visit johncattbookshop.com to explore the full range of titles. Use the code JCTTR2425 for 20% off your order. Happy reading.
Parent Kind are a national charity representing parent views and voice and championing parental participation in education and school life. By fostering strong school-parent partnerships, we can boost student attendance, improve behaviour and enhance academic performance. When parents actively participate, students thrive. Join the movement that's reshaping education for the better. Visit parentkind.org to learn more about reaping the rewards of working in partnership with parents.
Are your teachers juggling multiple technology platforms and struggling to keep everything organised? Then Toddle might be the answer. Built by a team of ex-educators, Toddle offers an all-in-one solution for teachers that streamlines everything, from curriculum planning and assessments to communication and report cards. And the best part? Toddle comes inbuilt with an AI assistant that helps teachers save time and improve their practices. 85% of schools replaced 3 or more platforms when they brought in Toddle. Teachers using Toddle say that the platform helps them save up to 10 hours a week. That means more time for what really matters, supporting students and driving academic success. See how Toddle can support your school. Visit toddleapp.com.
Hey education changemakers, ready for something special? It's Bet Show's 40th anniversary and we're throwing a free celebration just for you. Join us at London Excel from January 22nd to 24th to connect, learn and be inspired. Picture this, 300 plus speakers who truly get it, 600 cutting-edge edtech companies and all the fresh ideas you need to make 2025 your best year yet. So why wait? Head to uk.betshow.com, grab your free ticket and come celebrate with your peers. Because this is for you. See you at Bet.
Okay, welcome back, everybody who's joined, and wherever you're listening from whatever platform, welcome back. Glad to have you. And do remember to download the Podbean app so that you can call in or send me a message. Tell me, what have you done for longevity? How are you coping in the classroom? What has it been like over the years? How do you rejuvenate? So these are some of the things my lovely guest will be discussing with me tonight. So as usual, I like to give a little background or share something that has probably inspired the topic. And I was looking at an extract from an article on the Educational Support Network website, which noted that often those outside of the profession see only 13 weeks of holiday, 9 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. each day, plus a few inset days thrown into the mix, leaving some to ponder why we struggle at times. Why do we talk about workload? But what many do not see are the burdens placed on schools, senior leaders, and teachers. Not only do we seem to be trying to teach the next generation the knowledge and skills needed for a successful life, but we're also being asked to play a huge societal role without adequate funding. It went on to say it's not a surprise, therefore, that many leaders and classroom teachers, both new and experienced, face burnout at some point in their career. So the question then is, how do those of us who remain for 10 plus years sustain the motivation, and even less than that, or above 5 years? How do we sustain the motivation and desire to continue to give of ourselves, and how successful are we in doing so? So Stuart, welcome. You may unmute now so we can hear your lovely voice. Welcome to the Wednesday Twilight show, and thank you so much for the enthusiasm in accepting my invite. I am sure that by the end of the show, there will be lots of takeaways, as I said earlier, lots to think about and lots, hopefully, to help support your journey as a teacher, especially if you're an early careers teacher. So Stuart, I can't hear you at the moment. So if you hit that unmute button, or if you wish, Stuart, you could hit that unmute button and then we will continue with the show. Okay. So while we get that sorted, and I'm sure he will be with us soon, I'm just going to continue with the show. So we're talking about how do we rejuvenate? How do we keep the passion going and the motivation? Sarah, welcome. Thank you so much, a former guest. And please do share your opinions on this, Sarah. You've been in the classroom for a long time as well. So if you want to share with us, that would be great. Let me hear your opinion as well, because it does take a lot of patience, a lot of stamina, and a lot of mornings of digging deep and thinking, right, how am I going to get over today's hurdles? So we're hoping to really get into that and have a lovely show. So until Stuart joins us, I'm just going to continue and just talk a little bit about my experience. So one of the questions I will be focusing on tonight is what has kept you as a teacher, kept me in the classroom for over a decade. And those of you who have been listening to the show, or if you do know me, then you would know that I've been in the classroom for over 3 decades, 3 decades and a bit. Imagine that. The time just went by like that. And for me, one of the things that has kept me is the fact that teaching is something I've always wanted to do. That was the only profession I'd set out to do the moment I was able to make that decision. And so, therefore, for me, it is a calling. It is something I look forward to. It is something I anticipated when I was in secondary school and preparing for my exams. And so, I think that gives me that renewed energy and vigor every day and look forward to it. And the thing is, and my fellow teachers will agree, that no school year is the same. And every year you get your timetable, you meet new students, and the experience is different. I was saying to someone today that you're teaching the same things over the years, and especially for myself as an English teacher, and you're teaching the same things over the years. However, it's always different. It's always different. Your approach changes because of the nature of the classes. Your approach changes because of the context you're teaching in. And so for me, that brings a fresh approach to everything that I'm teaching. So nothing is ever the same. And that really helps to keep it fresh, keep it new, and keep it vibrant. So that's one of the things. Another thing as well is working with young people. And I'm sure those of you in line will agree with me as well, that working with young people, that alone keeps you going, keeps you up to date and abreast with everything that's happening around you. And it does keep you motivated. And especially when you come across those students who they're struggling, that they're finding it probably difficult to cope and they have several issues and so on. And then you as the professional, you as their teacher, you're there for them. And when you see that outcome and their success, that gives you renewed energy as well. And you want to continue to do it. But I guess the question is, how do you do this day to day? How do you stay passionate after so many years? And again, one of the things is, for me, continue to learn, and ongoing professional development is so important. And all my younger colleagues will tell you this is something I encourage. Seek out the conferences, go and study. There are some free offers for teachers as well. And I always encourage young people and young teachers to continue to learn. Check out the CPDs that are happening around you. And there's so many these days, some online, some face-to-face. And not only are you learning new things, but you're also building a network. So it is so important that we continue to learn, we continue to grow. Teaching for me today is not the same as it was back in 1993 when I first set foot in the classroom. It's very different. First of all, and I've done a show on this before, all I had were my chalks, my chalkboard eraser, some flip charts, for the most part. Well, sometimes if I was lucky, I would have a flip chart here and there and my cassette recorder. But teaching has evolved. And for me, just watching it evolve over the years, that alone has driven my passion. And I'm always trying to find new ways of reinventing who I am as a professional, finding new ways of learning new things as well, and to apply that to my own teaching and learning. So I try not to be stagnant. I'm always striving and looking for those opportunities. And so, for example, I attend conferences. Now I speak at these conferences. I continue to study. I continue to run CPD sessions myself, but also learn from others. And these are some of the things. And teaching is not just one-sided. It's not just being in a classroom. There are so many other things as a teacher that you could do as well. And I'm not talking about side hustles, everybody, because that's not what I'm talking about, not the side hustles. I'm talking about other things within education. It's not limited to the classroom. Some of us may aspire to leadership, and that's a new and different challenge. But then there's coaching and there's mentoring. So we can't really sit back and allow other people to determine our growth as teachers, our passion as teachers. And yes, we rely on our leaders to motivate us, those transformational leaders to motivate us and to inspire and to empower us. But it also has to be intrinsic. Okay, so that's my little opening gambit before we hear from our guest who has now joined us. So
Hello
welcome,
at last.
Stuart. Hello. Welcome, and good evening, Stuart. I'm happy that you've joined us and lovely to hear your voice.
Every day is a learning day, isn't it? I've just had to learn how to use this technology, Michelle. It's good to hear your voice after all these years. My goodness.
Yes, awesome. Because I was just about to talk about that because I just continue to talk about how I maintain that passion. And I was actually going to mention that now I have an avid interest in technology. And if you think about it, teachers in my demographic, if to say, for want of a better word,
Do you mean of our
usually
age?
shy away from technology and educational technology. But that's actually something I've become so interested in, and my research topic is on the use of technology in education. So there you have it. So yes, every day is a learning day.
And
So Stuart,
isn't it just
we're going to go straight
amazing?
into discussion.
Go away. You go ahead, Michelle. I'm just so excited to talk to you.
Oh, I'm so happy you are. So I'm going to go straight to it now. I'm going to ask you, first of all, to share with us your teaching journey and what inspired you to become an educator in the first place.
As with so many people, it was just that one teacher when I was at school who got me. There was a young student teacher, and this was the 1980s. We were speaking of our particular demographic. I was at secondary school in the 80s, and she got shocking pink hair, and she drove a Land Rover, and she was this student drama teacher.
Oh,
I was shy of understanding, let's put it that way. I wasn't the brightest,
mhm.
but I was keen. But she just somehow seemed to understand who I was, how I was going to learn, and really unlocked my potential. And I always credit her with just seeing me as a person and not as a student. And that really lit something in me. I'm going to name her. Her name was Sue Murray. She also sang in an Irish band, and she did all sorts of other things. And
Awesome.
yeah, she inspired me so much that almost within a day of meeting a person who switched me on as a learning individual, not just to drama, which was her subject, but to all subjects. Um, I just thought, I want to do that. I want to be able to do that for other young people. I didn't know how I was going to do it, or even why I wanted to do it, but there it is. That's what I wanted to do.
Thank you so much. And Stuart, so many of my previous guests have said the same thing or similar things, that it was that one teacher who inspired them. And I can also remember my history teacher. She made history come alive. And I thought, right, that's what I want to do. And Sarah, a former colleague of mine, you will find out today that when I signed up to teach, I actually wanted to teach history, but the
Oh,
cohort was full. Yes. And they said, but Michelle, I think, you've done well in English as well. Why don't you do that? And I went, sure. And I've loved it. I've enjoyed every moment of it. But it's always, for so many of us, it's that one teacher, who we want to, well, sometimes be like them. We want to emulate them and
mm.
to offer the same opportunities for other young people. So my next question, Stuart, is how do you stay passionate about teaching after so many years? Because as I said in the introduction, it's been some 24 years. That's a long time.
It's a scarily long time, isn't it, when I look back? And it's
Yeah.
so much has changed in that 24 years. And I think you hit on it. We just briefly talked about technology and the rapidly changing technology. And it's a little bit like, for me, everything is changing all the time. And I've noted in teaching the year on year, how an 11-year-old secondary teacher, how an 11-year-old processes things has changed each year. Each new cohort that's come has brought new ideas, new thinking, new technologies, new approaches. And for me, I tend to listen in and I tend to think, okay, what's going on with this cohort? And I think, what text is appropriate? What pedagogy is going to be appropriate for this cohort that's different to the last cohort, even if we're doing the same topic?
Mhm.
And that's what I really enjoy, rather than I'm sure that you got this when you started teaching as well. So we've always done it this way. This is the way that my parents learned, and this, I'm just not like that. I'm I will try new things every time on different topics with different classes, with different individuals within the class. And I think that's what keeps it fresh for me. I just think, right, these people are different. That person is different. What am I going to do differently? What do I need to read? What do I need to do? Who do I need to talk to? And that's it for me. That's the work. That's the passion. That's the where it comes from.
Yeah. So it's being adaptable.
I could have said just that word, couldn't I?
Yeah. No, no,
I'm
no.
an
But
English
thank
teacher.
you for exactly. Please do it the way you see fit. Yeah. We're adaptable, and that's what keeps the passion going. And if you can't, and if we walk into the classroom thinking, as you said, Stuart, this is the way I learned, this is the way I've been teaching, I'm not changing, then your students won't make any progress, and you will only become stressed every day because there's stagnation in the classroom and there's no movement. So we have to move with the times in terms of adapting to the needs of the students and adjusting our plans accordingly. However, Stuart, there's one thing I don't compromise on still, though, and I'm still old school with that, and it's behavior.
Absolutely. And having worked with you, I know that.
No compromise where that is
No,
concerned.
no, no, no.
Um, so, Stuart, are there any specific moments or experiences that reignite your love for teaching? Can you think of any
Oh,
moment where, yeah.
we've all got stories, and there are so many. But one comes from about 10 years ago when I worked in a school. Um, and we all say that words are powerful, don't we? And I'm not
Mhm,
sure as teachers whether we know just how powerful words are. But I had a young man who, when I first started teaching in the school, and it's a school, he did not want to cross the threshold to
mhm,
my classroom, did not want to know about poetry, did not want to know about English. And actually, over time, he started. We were teaching the poem Dulce Decorum Est,
yeah.
and he identified with it, and he said, I'm in a similar situation. I've got to keep walking forwards because I'm expected to. And he was talking about gang violence. He was talking about, I am expected to keep walking forwards like these soldiers in this poem. And he
Mhm,
plucked up the courage to do a speech about it. From not wanting to even engage in English, he wrote an original speech and went on then to deliver it for a Lambda Award. And I just thought, how at London Academy of Music and Dramatic Art.
Mm-hmm.
And I just thought how empowering that was. And then later in the year, there was an incident, a very unfortunate incident, where a young man from this young man's gang was violently assaulted and
Mm-hmm.
ultimately died. And all eyes fell on this young man who was the gang leader, um, to have revenge. And we know, Michelle, we know what the schools we've worked in can, what can happen. And
Mm-hmm.
this young man, he really thought about it, and he came and he spoke to me, and he said, "What do I do? All eyes are on me, but I do not want to increase the violence." And I was able to say, "Think of the poem, think of the poem." And it was very powerful. What he decided to do is him and the rest of the gang went to where the violence had occurred, and instead of inciting further violence, each of them laid a flower, stood
Wow.
silently, and walked away. And, I will never forget that story. The power of teaching somebody a poem and just opening that little bit actually, I think, saved a life.
Oh, and what a powerful gesture as well for them to actually
Oh,
go to the site and put flowers there rather than taking revenge.
yes.
And,
And that was
and
what they were expected to do.
yeah, and you've summed it up there, Stuart. And these are the things that really reignite our passion when we can make a difference. And I've said this before. It's one starfish at a time. And if you can make a difference in just one person, look at the ripple effect, because then he was able to influence the others.
Yes.
And these are some of the rewarding moments of teaching when you impact the lives of our students and help them to change their actions, change their mindsets. And look, all it took was a poem, and then people question, why are we still teaching poetry and why are we still doing this? It's more than just the text, it's the deeper messages and the subliminal messages that they bring, and how we as teachers bring those out to our students. So that was really fantastic. Thank you for sharing. And
Thank you.
before we take another break, um, how do you manage to stay enthusiastic even during challenging times? Because we're not going to sit here and pretend that teaching is a walk in the park. It's not. And we face many challenges. But how do you remain enthusiastic or
I do.
motivated?
I have to remind myself that this
Mm-hmm.
is a role that we play. It's not who I am, it's what I do. It's a role that I play in the school community and in society. And if I play that role badly, it's like an actor, I suppose. He's not going to get good reviews. And to me, the reviews are whether young people are happy and making progress, or whether they are sad and therefore resistant to progress. So I keep it refreshed, I keep it fresh because it's a role that I'm playing. It is not me that they are resisting. It is, in fact, themselves they are resisting. And that way, I hang up my teacher-ness. I call it my teacher drag. As soon as I take
Yeah.
off my teacher drag, it gets hung up. I'm in the jogging bottoms. I'm Stuart, and I'm doing what I want to do. I go swimming or whatever. I'm no longer the teacher. And when I'm at work, I am playing the role.
Yeah. I mean, that's well said. I love the fact that you said it's a role that we play, not who I am, it's the role we play. But at what stage in your career did you stop taking it personally? Because I remember as a young teacher, I would think, oh, they're being so mean to me.
Mm.
But then as you progress and gain more experience, you realize, as you just said, they're not being resistant to you. And there's often an underlying reason as well. So at what stage did you realize, were you always like of that mindset, or did
No.
it happen over time? Yeah, yeah.
It takes a while. I was 27 when I qualified as a teacher, as you said in my introduction, which was late for various reasons. And even at the age of 27, I was still feeling like I wasn't that far away from my own school experience and carrying my own school
Hmm.
trauma or whatever happened there with me. And really, I had to re examine who I am as an adult in
Hmm.
a school situation, because we are the adult, but it's so easy, I think, to respond as if we're still a child.
Yeah.
it took maybe 6 or 7 years, in honesty, to get through a year 7 cohort all the way through to sixth form, and constantly reflecting with great mentors. I've had some great mentors to just go, Stuart, it's not you. Well, this
Mhm.
part isn't you, but this is the part inside you which you need to change or adapt. You're passionate, you're all of those things, but please do not make yourself vulnerable. And this I say to everybody, don't make yourself vulnerable to what children are saying, to you. Don't adultify them. They're not adult. If adults were saying what children were saying to us a lot of the time, we would probably have cause to react. But they are children. Don't take them as adults, and that's what I would say.
Exactly. So that is overcoming the challenges posed by students and the resistance. But what about those challenges that we have within institutions? And you don't name names, but how do you remain motivated when you know, reflect on some leadership in the past and you think, oh, what were they doing?
It's
How do
not always
you?
great, is it?
No, no.
I have developed new habits, believe it or not. I used to get angry and I used to think, oh, I'm terrible. And then it was externalized, like, what are they doing? They're terrible. And then,
Mm-hmm.
of course, that doesn't do anybody any good. It's through reflection and then through my extra studies, actually. I'm a big fan of Kate McGrath at the moment, at the Culture Map, and looking at, actually, we work in London and we
Mm-hmm.
work with people of lots of different cultures, lots of different influences from lots of different spheres. And a lot of my reading has really helped me to understand it is all of us collectively, and looking at how we work together and move forwards, and then
Mm-hmm.
focusing on things which do seem trite at first: the vision statement, the mission statement. We're here to do this for the school and for the learners. If we deviate from that, we have a cause to hold each other accountable, and then learn how to do that in a gentle and caring and kind way, not in a critical
Yeah,
or in a way that seems to attack. Now, that requires maturity and experience. It really does.
yeah.
To see a leader who actually could be doing better or should know better, not delivering on that, is one of the hardest things we have to learn how to overcome, I think.
Thank you so much. That is well said. And you mentioned there, Stuart, that we always have to keep the learners at the
Yeah,
center of everything that we do,
absolutely.
and yeah,
Absolutely.
and think about the impact or actions and the things we do and how we respond, how that will affect them as well. And you're right. Dealing with leadership at whatever level, it comes with maturity and knowing how to pick your battles and when to pick your battles as well. I think as a younger teacher, I wanted to fight every cause. And if I had an opinion, I wanted it to be made known right there and then. And whether that was in a public space or private, I just could not restrain myself. And I've learned over the years that, yeah, oh, Stuart, you're laughing away. I know you know.
I am, because
Um,
I'm hearing you talking about yourself, and I'm seeing myself as well. But
yes.
I'm also seeing you, who of diminutive stature, listeners. But Michelle, I've always said about you, though she may be small, she be fierce.
Oh
And
my
it's
goodness. Oh, Stuart, you know what? I wanted everybody to think that I'm really this tall woman who's delivering these shows.
hey,
No, actually,
you're
I'm
a
fine with
powerhouse,
my
Michelle
diminutive
Hinds.
stature. Yes, I am actually comfortable with that. So, yes, so I have learned, and you're right, Stuart, it comes with maturity and it comes with reading and learning and growing, that pick your battles and you don't have to vocalize everything there and then. It wears you out because nothing is being done despite you being so vocal. So younger colleagues, something to bear in mind. Yes, you want to champion the cause and to fight for your rights and for everybody else's rights, but always don't do it there. Think about it before it comes out, process it, Think about the impact. Think about what it will do to your own mental health and well being before you proceed. We're going to take a short break, another short break. And before I do that, let me welcome those of you who've just joined. Emily, thank you so much. I know it's way past your bedtime, but would love to hear from you before you go. I wish I knew this last year. Emily said she wished she knew this last year, Stuart, that sometimes you just zip it, process it, uh, think about the impact it will have and think about how it will benefit you, whatever you have to say. Sometimes you also have to think, okay, I disagree with this. How will I get this across to leadership? That there
Yeah.
are other means and ways of doing something to make it more impactful rather than going in all guns blazing, suggesting I've got all the knowledge and yeah, I know exactly what to do. Sometimes we just have to take a step back and
And
think
now
from.
we're the leaders. Don't we just get that all the time from the trainee teachers and the new ECTs? And it's like, I hear you. I want to hear you. I want to help you with your passion. But
Mhm.
let's just focus this now. It's wonderful. It's wonderful
Yeah.
to see.
Yeah, when the shoes are on the other foot, then yeah, you begin to see, oh yeah, I can see this person in me. And every time I head a department, I spot that one person on my team that reminded me of my younger self. I'm like, right, this one is my
Yeah.
challenge.
Yeah.
So before we go on our break, let me welcome those of you who've just joined. We've got Kosha. Hey, Kosha, a former guest as well. Hope to hear from you soon. We've got Chanel as well, who was also a former guest. So well done for joining and thank you so much. Hope you're learning something from us tonight, or hope by the end of the show you will feel reinvigorated and ready to take on the world again if you're feeling a bit low about the teaching profession. So we're going to take a short break and we'll be right back.
This show is brought to you in partnership with John Catt Educational, publishers of professional development books and resources that support great teaching and learning in schools around the world. Don't miss out. Level up your professional development today and visit johncattbookshop.com to explore the full range of titles. Use the code JCTTR2425 for 20% off your order. Happy reading.
Parentkind are a national charity representing parent views and voice and championing parental participation in education and school life. By fostering strong school-parent partnerships, we can boost student attendance, improve behaviour and enhance academic performance. When parents actively participate, students thrive. Join the movement that's reshaping education for the better. Visit parentkind.org to learn more about reaping the rewards of working in partnership with parents.
Are your teachers juggling multiple technology platforms and struggling to keep everything organised? Then Toddle might be the answer. Built by a team of ex-educators, Toddle offers an all-in-one solution for teachers that streamlines everything, from curriculum planning and assessments to communication and report cards. And the best part? Toddle comes inbuilt with an AI assistant that helps teachers save time and improve their practices. 85% of schools replaced 3 or more platforms when they brought in Toddle. Teachers using Toddle say that the platform helps them save up to 10 hours a week. That means more time for what really matters, supporting students and driving academic success. See how Toddle can support your school. Visit toddleapp.com.
Hey education changemakers, ready for something special? It's Bet Show's 40th anniversary and we're throwing a free celebration just for you. Join us at London Excel from January 22nd to 24th to connect, learn and be inspired. Picture this, 300 plus speakers who truly get it, 600 cutting-edge edtech companies and all the fresh ideas you need to make 2025 your best year yet. So why wait? Head to uk.betshow.com, grab your free ticket and come celebrate with your peers. Because this is for you. See you at Bet.
Okay, welcome back, everyone, and thanks for joining us. Tonight, we're talking about tenacity in teaching and how we maintain our motivation or sustain our motivation after teaching for a long time. And these days, actually, I think people 3 years in, sometimes they're already feeling burnt out and thinking, this is not for me. So tonight we're hoping to share with you some strategies and ideas of how to encourage and motivate fellow colleagues as well, especially those ECTs or people who are thinking of joining the profession, how to maintain the motivation, avoid burnout, and how to sustain that, because that's the important bit. How do we sustain that? Welcome back, Stuart, and thank you so far for being so honest and open with us.
Thank you, Michelle.
Yes, so we're going to continue the discussion, and we're looking now at strategies for longevity. Can you share with us some habits or practices that you've developed to maintain your motivation over the years? So some of your routines, and you mentioned a little bit of that earlier.
It has taken so long to understand what that means, Michelle. At first, it was the donuts and the coffee and the late nights. And, after, one hits a certain age and one cannot do this anymore.
Nope.
Nope, it doesn't work, does it, anymore? So for me, it really is the things that our doctors tell us to do. It's the healthy eating. It's the don't say yes to things you cannot complete. If you know you can't complete them, even if you want to, do not say yes to the extras. Make sure you're able to fulfill the yes before you agree to something. And then ensure that you're building in your life. For me, my great joy currently is swimming. It changes. But I do that twice or 3 times a week, especially when I've had a tough day, more lengths. But also, I have a marking timetable, as simple as that. I don't mark after 5 o'clock on Tuesdays and Thursdays. I swim. It doesn't get done. But integrating AI, hands up in the air. I am a huge fan of the new AI stuff. If I can set homework that is self-marked and it gives me data from each individual learner and it shows me what grade and what thinking they're at, please give me more of it. Fabulous. I learned so much in lockdown about how to really cut back a lot of the admin and associated sort of legwork or the heavy lifting. So now my heavy lifting is cognitive. My heavy lifting is how do I get these individuals to think more clearly as individuals? I'm back down to that woman who inspired me, the pink head punk drama teacher. I'm there, but in a so much more advanced way. And like, yes, these kids have got thinking skills, they're thinking individually, and I'm planning their lessons on an individual level based on things that AI are giving me. I mean, that's win-win-win. It really is. And I
Thank
get
you
to
so
go
much.
swimming.
And you get to go swimming. And Emily, who's online, said, preach. Oh, yes. And when you mentioned AI, she screamed, yes. She loves these practical steps. Thank you so much, Emily. Yeah, she said, yes to it. And everything you're saying resonates with us. So I know where Emily is coming from.
Yeah,
So you took us through the donuts and the coffee, and we've all been there, where we
haven't
think,
we?
yeah, where we think true well-being and motivation comes from the cakes and the coffee. But actually, it wears you out because it's not healthy. And
Yeah.
then you moved on to the healthy eating as suggested and guided by our medical practitioners. One of the things that you said, and I'm going to talk about a few of the things you said that are really powerful, but one of them is don't say yes to extras or to everything until you're able to accomplish the things that you are meant to do, the things within your remit. So the thing though, Stuart, is how do we transmit this to early careers teachers that, they want to be seen, they want to make their mark, they want to progress. How do we then transmit that message to them that you don't have to say yes to everything? You don't have to say yes to go on all the trips. You don't have to say yes to take on all the duties or to lead on all the projects in the school. So, yeah, I know, but they're eager and
We
nothing's
watch
wrong with
them,
that.
don't we? We stand back and we watch. There is a theory inside me that goes, sometimes you have to let people fall a little bit, otherwise they're not going to listen. We can dispense all the wisdom we like, but I know I didn't listen. I know you didn't listen because we were so busy trying to change the world. And there is
Mhm,
something good in that motivation, but there's a
mhm.
lot more learning from early disappointment and early failure, not early burnout, as a good mentor, as a good leader, but allowing people to just get to that point where they go, oh, I think I'm doing too much, and
Yeah.
then have the discussion, because it's how we learn. It's how the young people learn as well.
Yeah.
Stretching at the top end, see what you can tolerate.
I remember a teacher joined a department I was head of department of, and he was in his second year of teaching. And I had a one-to-one with him because I always like to have a one-to-one with new colleagues and just all my colleagues, to be honest, and just to see their ambitions and their strengths and the things that they would like to support us with in the English department. And we had that one-to-one. And the first thing he said was, well, I'm here to take your job.
Oh,
And yes, and I said, okay, that is fine. And if this is something you aspire to, then we'll work on that. I said, however, let's just build the steps and the foundation, make it really strong so that you'll be efficient. And I kid you not even a term in, he came back to me one day and he said, Michelle, I'm really sorry. I'm not ready. I am nowhere near ready to take your job. So I didn't burst his bubble when he suggested it, but I said, yeah, sure, absolutely. But when the term intensified and the challenges rose and he saw how things were he went, oh, Michelle, I can't.
yeah.
So
It
you're right.
takes so much more than the mechanics of doing, doesn't it? It's a
Yeah,
lot more than
a
than
lot
delivering on the
more.
day-to-day basis. It's so
Yeah,
much more. I didn't realize that when I was younger and criticizing everybody senior. I had no idea.
yeah.
Now I
But
do.
we live and we learn, right? Sometimes the hard way as well. Yeah. And you mentioned that you do hobbies as well, and swimming is now one of your passions. And I think
Yeah.
it is so important because we could get so caught up in all the demands of the day-to-day role
Mm,
and forget about ourselves.
mm,
I made a pledge to myself that I would do 30 minutes on the treadmill every day because it's accessible, it's only downstairs.
yes.
But there are weeks when I've come home and I think, right, not tonight, I'm too tired, or I need to plan this lesson, or I need to write this scheme of work. And so it is so important that we really make an effort. And you've mentioned that the way you've been able to do that is having your marking timetable. And the funny thing is, only today, I was talking about this with another colleague about the benefits of having a marking timetable.
Mm.
But again, Stuart, it's sticking to it because we make these timetables and we
Yeah.
sometimes don't stick to it because life gets in the way, right?
That's absolutely true. Then we find different ways of getting around it, because it's not just that I've done, I've had whole class feedback then, isn't it? That's
Mhm.
what we're doing. We're doing whole class feedback. Here are your 5 common mistakes. Everybody get your green pens out.
Exactly. Whole class feedback. And then that leads me to the idea of self-marking through AI. Now, this is a
Absolutely. Yeah.
topic, this is an area I am so interested in and doing some research around as well. I went to a conference recently and somebody was delivering a session on the use of AI in the curriculum. And she started by asking, put your hand up. Now, this is a conference for teachers. Put your
Yeah.
hand up if you're sick and tired of hearing about AI. And I was shocked to see hands going up and from a wide cross section of teachers. So I think there is still this misnomer that it is something to shy away from and that it encourages cheating. But it's so important that we understand how to use it ourselves so that we can
Yeah.
guide our students. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm all for AI as well and using it effectively.
Yeah. The
Uh,
more we use it, the better it's going to be.
exactly. And you
Yeah.
kind of take away that element of cheating from the students and that that little power that they think they have over us by, oh, let me just refer to AI to get this done. But I often say to them, put the question in AI, see what it comes up with, and then go do your
Yeah.
own research, be inspired, put the question
Mhm.
in, see if it
Mhm.
generates a plan, and then you take it from there.
Yeah. And I don't find anything at all offensive about that. And I will, for example, recently I had a group of students who needed very quickly to turn a speech into a presentation. I was like, Gamma, whack it in Gamma, see what it gives you,
Mhm.
And they were like, this is amazing. It's magic. And it's not, it's just adding pictures and sectioning up your writing for you so that you can then talk to me about it.
Yeah.
They absolutely were in awe of this. And like, right, that's going now in the curriculum. We are using Gamma.
Fantastic. And I think it's important, Stuart, that as professionals, we spread this message,
Yeah.
across all schools as much as possible, because then it will help with the workload, and it will help to prevent some of the burnout, because instead of, going home to plan for hours and writing things from scratch. Use what's available, use the
Mm,
tools that are available so that you
mm,
could free up your time to do other things and to give quality feedback as well. Let me pause again just to welcome those of you who are just joining. We're talking about teaching with tenacity and how to maintain, sustain our motivation as teachers, because sometimes it becomes burdensome, overwhelming. But how do we keep going? For those of us who've been in the profession for so long, I'm sure you will all agree with me. It's not for the money, and it's not to become rich. So clearly, there must be something that keeps us 10 years and beyond, right, Stuart?
absolutely. If money was my motivator, I don't think I'd have chosen this profession, or this profession wouldn't have chosen me.
Definitely not. But we make it work, and it's something that we enjoy. So we continue
Yeah,
to make a difference in the lives of our young people.
absolutely.
We've already talked about how to avoid burnout and all of that,
Mm,
because everything that you've said here, these are just some of the ways in which we could do that. But if you want to add anything else to that, like how do you handle burnout or avoid
yeah.
it altogether?
Yeah, I mean, I had a moment, let's say, it's quite a long moment, about 14 years ago, where I was well and truly rinsed, and I think that was my moment of, I had to learn from it. I had to
Hmm.
learn that I'd not listened to my body, I'd not listened to my colleagues, I'd ignored the signs because I just wanted to keep going, just one more day, just one more week, just one more lesson. I had become ineffective, and
Hmm.
nothing upsets me more than knowing I'm ineffective. So it was, in a way, a renaissance moment.
Yeah.
And that is actually when I first met you. I had decided at that point, okay, leadership right now is not where I need to be. I need to get back in the classroom and relearn why I do this. And that's exactly the point in my career where I came to you.
Hmm.
And sometimes we do have to be objective and take a step back. And it's that thing, separating the self from the role, you know?
Yeah.
This is a role we are playing. This is a service we are doing. Let's put ourselves in the position to be able to do that well, sustainably. My methods had become unsustainable. They were
Yeah.
out of date. And what I was doing was still trying to do things how I was doing them 10 years earlier when I trained.
Hmm.
And the world had moved on, the kids had moved on, the pace of things had moved on. So I was trying to do more at the same pace, which had become unsustainable. So it's really, check your pedagogy, check what's new, check what's out there, check what your
Hmm.
colleagues are doing, and listen to the ECTs and especially the trainees, because they have a lot to teach us, a lot.
Yeah.
That helps.
Oh, fantastic. And it's really humble to accept that and admit that they're coming in with fresh ideas. And it's
Yeah,
okay to listen to them as well.
yeah,
And,
yeah,
to delegate and help them grow and develop.
yeah.
Um, I agree with you, Stuart, about especially in the early years and being burnout and all that.
Mm, mm,
As when I became head of department in the UK, I would work for long hours.
mm,
And
mm.
I remember leaving work sometimes late in the evening, 8 o'clock, nine
Yes,
o'clock
yeah,
even, and
yeah.
reflecting on my drive home on how productive were those hours. Because then you have a colleague wandering in and out, and you
Mm,
have conversations, and you're
mm,
thinking, what have I accomplished really? And you turn up the next day and the cycle continues and it repeats. So I've learned to be very strategic in my approach to the things I need to accomplish in my role and
mm.
even as a classroom practitioner, and making sure that I organize my day as such. Lately, what I've been doing is making sure that I use my hours within the school day as much as I can to get
Yes.
things done as much as I can. So if I've got my planning period, I make sure that's what I'm doing. And if I've set aside some marking, I try to do that so that it minimizes what I have to do after school hours. Because, sometimes you can't avoid that. Sometimes you just have to bring some scripts home
Yes.
and you just have to bring some planning home. But I've learned over the years how to minimize that by maximizing my time at school. And
And
yes, we
don't do
like,
it every
yeah,
day. Late nights every day is and again, I
burns you
refer to the
down.
particular demographic of us. We
Mhm.
are leading others. We are not young. We're not at our youngest, freshest anymore, but we are
Yeah,
we're at our most experienced. And we need to demonstrate this to younger people. Put it
yeah,
down. Walk away from it. Only do this 2 or 3 times a half term. If you're going to stay up till midnight marking exams, great, but don't do it every night and don't leave it to the last minute. Because
exactly. Time
something will
management.
get in, yeah.
Time management. I was
Yes,
speaking to a colleague today as well, and we were reflecting um, on her experiences so far. And she actually said she was so stressed last year, but this year she's learned that it's okay to focus on the urgent and the most
yes.
important things and to manage her day like that. And the things out of her control, you
Hmm.
leave it and you work
Hmm.
with the things that you can control. And that is, yeah, a mindset that we have to adopt as we go along as teachers. Because remember, we're not just classroom practitioners, we're social workers.
Hmm.
Sometimes they see us as parents, a confidant, you
Yeah.
name it. Our roles are multiple. I mean, and therefore we have to make sure that we can serve all these people who need us. And our roles, by the way, you'll agree with me, Stuart. Our roles don't stop in schools. We have lives outside of schools, and we have
Hmm.
people outside of our schools who depend on us and who look up to us and who need us. So it's so important as teachers that we really do avoid the burnout and know when to stop and say, right, I'm done for today. I'm
Yeah.
off to read a book I've always wanted to read, or I'm off to the gym, or as Stuart would do, I'm off to go swimming. It's
Yeah.
okay. But don't you find, Stuart, that sometimes when we walk away, we suffer guilt?
Oh, I used to. I have to
Yeah.
say, in the post-50 world, I no longer suffer guilt of 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 the I've left 5 books unmarked. So what? I am like that, and I will go. There is another way around this. I can very quickly, and I don't work for the AI, but I can very quickly put 5 common mistakes that I've spotted throughout the lesson into
Mhm.
AI, and it can spit me out a fabulous do now, and then I go swimming or to the theatre, or there's always another way. Of acknowledging what students have done and saying, I have seen this. This is how we're going to deal with the misconceptions. There's always a way. It doesn't have to be sitting down endlessly, plowing through their books. No, it's not sustainable anymore. There's so many other things that a human being can do without feeling guilty. We shouldn't.
We
It's
shouldn't.
yeah, it's what keeps us in jobs we shouldn't be doing. It's what keeps us in patterns we shouldn't be exploring anymore. It stops us
Mhm.
being objective. It's not very useful.
I agree. And sometimes plowing through those books, well, is not even effective because the
Yeah,
students don't even care. You have to
yeah.
make a conscious
Don't
effort
read it.
to get them to read it. And yeah,
Yeah,
otherwise, yeah, they just gloss over it.
yeah.
So yeah, live marking is the way to go, I suppose. And I mean,
I
there are other
love a bit of live marking. I love whipping me around the classroom and getting it all sorted in one go.
so much more effective.
Isn't
But
it?
of course, marking has its place, and we all have to do it. But we're just saying,
Absolutely.
make
Yes.
sure it's meaningful.
Yes.
We are going to take a break now for the news. And we're going to join John for the news. Those of you who are online, please don't go anywhere. The show hasn't come to an end yet. We're just going to find out what is happening in the world of education in the United Kingdom. Stay tuned.
Today's show is brought to you in partnership with John Catt Educational, publishers of professional development books and resources that support great teaching and learning in schools around the world. Don't miss out. Level up your professional development today and visit johncattbookshop.com to explore the full range of titles. Use the code JCTTR2425 for 20% off your order. Happy reading.
Parentkind are a national charity representing parent views and voice and championing parental participation in education and school life. By fostering strong school-parent partnerships, we can boost student attendance, improve behaviour and enhance academic performance. When parents actively participate, students thrive. Join the movement that's reshaping education for the better. Visit parentkind.org to learn more about reaping the rewards of working in partnership with parents.
Are your teachers juggling multiple technology platforms and struggling to keep everything organised? Then Toddle might be the answer. Built by a team of ex-educators, Toddle offers an all-in-one solution for teachers that streamlines everything, from curriculum planning and assessments to communication and report cards. And the best part? Toddle comes inbuilt with an AI assistant that helps teachers save time and improve their practices. 85% of schools replaced 3 or more platforms when they brought in Toddle. Teachers using Toddle say that the platform helps them save up to 10 hours a week. That means more time for what really matters, supporting students and driving academic success. See how Toddle can support your school. Visit toddleapp.com.
Hey education changemakers, ready for something special? It's Bet Show's 40th anniversary and we're throwing a free celebration just for you. Join us at London Excel from January 22nd to 24th to connect, learn and be inspired. Picture this, 300 plus speakers who truly get it, 600 cutting-edge edtech companies and all the fresh ideas you need to make 2025 your best year yet. So why wait? Head to uk.betshow.com, grab your free ticket and come celebrate with your peers. Because this is for you. See you at Bet.
This is Teachers Talk Radio, and this is Teachers Talk Radio News.
As we welcome the new year and see out the old, many of the news stories which have happened in education over the Christmas period will seem familiar. A number of newspapers and news sites give further details of the government's Children and Wellbeing in Schools Bill, which now contains more reform policies directed at schools. For example, no automatic right for children to be educated at home. A unique number identifying children so they can be tracked as they move out of school and into home education. This was highlighted with the tragic case of Sarah Sharif. The bill will also contain a guarantee that all teachers in private education and tutoring, as well as state education, must be working towards or in possession of qualified teacher status. And national pay scales will apply to all schools in England. Possibly the most important is that we may be facing a turning point away from the era of academisation, since the Schools Bill will end the automatic academisation of failing schools. The news site The Conversation, in a long read analysis of the era of academised schools, discusses whether or not they've been a success. With such a variety of academised schools, large academy chains and small, it's very difficult to compare one with another, they conclude. Overall, though, additional needs students are served better in non-academy schools, and teachers tend to have lower job satisfaction inside academy schools. A related story, which has appeared in The Guardian and the Times Education Supplement, as well as the BBC, concerns Mossbourne School, the standard bearer for the ultra-disciplined school, with chanting students before lessons, silent corridors, and draconian rules applied. A large number of parents at Mossbourne signed an open letter to the Guardian supporting the school, saying that it provided a caring and supportive and successful environment for their students and their children. This was in response to a number of stories in reaction to former teachers at the school and a number of other parents who described the school as psychologically abusive and scary. The debate about this kind of school will no doubt continue and will divide parents and divide teachers during 2025. A story familiar in 2024 is again in the news. Reported by the BBC, the Children's Laureate, Frank Cottrell Boyce, described the enormous equality gap which has been created by Britain's decaying schools. The leaking roofs, the rattling windows, the poor heating systems, and the poor quality of equipment, found mostly and disproportionately in areas of disadvantage. The Children's Laureate notes that this will cause long and lasting damage to these children's lives. And this is supported, as the BBC reports, by the Institute for Fiscal Studies, who found that in the last decade, spending on school buildings was 25% lower than in the previous decade. So no doubt news stories in the year ahead will be further reflections on the consequences of a decade of austerity. One of the most troubling stories which appeared in the Times Education supplement was in response to a Department for Education survey, which revealed that between January and March of 2024, a quarter of schools reported weapons-related incidents, mostly concerning students bringing knives into school. And 1 in 10 teachers revealed during the same period knife-related incidents in their classrooms. And the survey organisation, Teachers Tap, revealed that in May last year, a quarter of teachers felt that poor behaviour in their classrooms was undermining their well-being. Something many of us have suspected for a long time was also revealed in Teachers Tab, as a survey of the number of detentions given out in the week before Christmas revealed that maths teachers were altogether more likely to give out detentions than art teachers. For all those who remember their maths lessons as being strict and their art lessons as being fun, alas, this supported that stereotype. Teachers Tab also revealed that in the week before Christmas, schools in disadvantaged areas were twice as likely to have given out detentions. And as we enter the new year, a survey in the Times Educational Supplement reveals, unsurprisingly, that only a third of teachers have any confidence that any length of Ofsted inspection is capable of truly and accurately reflecting the quality of a school. And wishing you a happy new year, that concludes the Teachers Talk Radio News for the Christmas period, brought to you by John Gibbs on Teachers Talk Radio.
Oh, thank you so much, John, for that poetic approach to reading the news tonight. There's a lot we could take away from that and some of the things that we're talking about tonight, actually, and it's how do we stay motivated as teachers? And I mean, one of the news items was about the behavior and discipline and that some people complain that some schools, the measures are too draconian, but then I guess it's all about context and what schools have to do to maintain their sanity, for teachers to maintain their sanity. So that would be a whole other show. So welcome back, everybody. Thank you so much for staying with us. Those of you who are still online, it is not too late to call in and share your own opinions. How do you maintain your motivation as a teacher, especially if you've been in the classroom for some time? How do you get that intrinsic motivation every day to remain driven and to deliver each day at a very high standard? please share with us, download the Podbean app, or you could call in or send us a message. Or if you have any questions, feel free to ask. My guest, Stuart, is very capable of answering your questions. Thank you again, Stuart, for sharing with us thus far. It has been brilliant. And believe it or not, we're in the final stretch of our show tonight. So thank you so much for those insightful comments you've made earlier and tips that you've given us as well. So we're going to go back to some of our questions. And earlier we talked about, how to avoid burnout altogether, how to maintain your motivation by developing habits or practices, and how to pick our battles. So my next question to you is, do you have a support system or community that plays a role in keeping you energized? Because we can't do this on our own all the time.
Absolutely cannot. Finding the right person to support for me often comes outside of the school environment, because separating what is feeling of my own feelings from what are my motivations and what is coming from other people tends to be less of a professional concern for me and more of I need to reflect personally and take myself out of it, So I have a mentor outside of school who works in business and who's a very feeling person, a very understanding person, who is just able to guide me when things get a little tough in my head and I can't quite sort out what my own priorities are. I don't necessarily need to be speaking to a senior leader or the head teacher. I need to be speaking to somebody who is uninvolved in that. Does that make sense?
Yes, definitely. And this is something I have learned as well. Because as a teacher, whatever profession you're in, you tend to find that your friends come from the same profession.
Mm-mm.
And when you get together, that's all you talk about.
Just
So,
moaning.
yeah, that's all you talk about. What the students said last week and what the senior leaders asked you to do that you felt was really unrealistic and um, just not good for your well-being or whatever. But it's so important that we do have a mentor outside of the profession as well, somebody who'll be objective, somebody who'll be able to look through different lens and just go, right, no, this is what I think you should do, walk away. Or even if they're not giving advice, just somebody as a
Mm.
sounding board.
Yep.
It is so important. And that is something we should all strive to do. And yes, we need our teacher friends. I love my teacher friends because they've got brilliant ideas. But there's sometimes you need to rant, and you need to rant with somebody who has no stake in education. Um, is there anything else you'd like to share? So you talk about your mentor, any other outside network?
Well, my support system,
Yeah.
this is going to sound insane, and I don't apologize for it. I have cats. I have my two cats. And do you know what it's like to come home to two young things that don't answer you back on all they want to do? All they want is to be loved and fed. It's
Oh,
marvelous.
oh, wow.
A
There we
very
go.
essential part of my support system.
And I love
Uh,
it. Yeah, your support network. I mean, it doesn't have to comprise human beings. You're right. We're going to talk back and have strong opinions, and just make you feel a little bit more annoyed than you were to start with. The cats, who
The cats are great, and I also belong to several Facebook groups.
yeah,
The general, the support. We have online chat for people who work for the same exam boards as me, because I'm also an examiner and a
yeah,
moderator and team
yeah,
leader for various things. Um, you know, those I dip in and out of the chat forum, but
mhm,
apart from that, I think it's really important. If it's to do with work and systems of work, yes, ask the people in work at school. If it's to do with feelings and emotions, keep it out of school,
yeah.
unless, of course, somebody's been horrible to you, in which case, HR.
Straight to HR, Stuart.
Yeah,
Absolutely no middleman involved here. Thank you so much. So,
thank you.
there are some top tips for those of you who are listening. Have a mentor outside of education. Invest in some pets if that's what you like.
Even a goldfish.
Even if it's a goldfish, and just
Yeah.
sit and watch them swim aimlessly around in a fish tank, if that's what you like. I know my cousin is online, Koshia. She has her cat as well, one that she adores. So yes, here we go. I haven't bought into that yet. I haven't been convinced that I should have a pet yet, but maybe something to consider. And you mentioned that final one, Stuart, which is important as well, professional groups, because
Yes.
yeah, all of these things will help us to balance our roles as teachers and the workload as well. Thank you so much. So now we're looking at a section on adapting and growing. And we've already talked about how you keep up with the changes in education. And I can already tell that, yes, new technologies, that's not an issue for you. That's something that you've embraced. Kosha said, Cece is a joy. And Cece is our cat. Well,
Oh, hello,
thank
fellow cat
you.
person.
Thank you, Kosha. I'm still not convinced yet, but maybe one of these days I'll get myself a CC or maybe change the name, of course. But we'll see. But definitely, teachers, if you're listening, invest in a pet. Okay, they do help.
It makes you go home. It
Makes you
stops
go
you going.
home.
Yes.
Oh, fantastic. So you've talked already about how you keep up with the changes in things such as new technologies.
Mm.
But how do you keep up with the curriculum updates and how do you remain motivated? Other
It,
things, curriculum updates, new
yeah.
new innovations every September. How do you keep up?
Um, well, often
Hmm.
one can predict, the whole idea of seeing around corners. That's another text I'm reading currently. That you can see trends coming. And I know when I started teaching, people say, "Oh, we've been here before. It goes in cycles." It really does go in cycles, and all that changes is the cohort that's in front of us and the technology. But what essentially remains is that we're still dealing with 11 to 19-year-olds who go through a series of changes, and the curriculum that supports that changes. It has several iterations. I think I'm on my seventh iteration of the syllabus that I teach from in both drama, well, the drama, music, and English. It's just anticipating that they will come and
Hmm.
knowing that they will come, and always review your schemes of learning after you've taught them anyway. That is good practice. Discuss with your staff, discuss with other staff, does this really work? If it doesn't, why not? What changes will need to be made? Read the examiner's reports at the end of the year, from every syllabus, because that gives you an indicator of what is going to change. Always read they're there for a reason. And once you do that, you're like, oh yeah, this change is necessary. Let's get ahead of the curve. Let's do that. It is possible to see around the corner, and it's also necessary.
Yeah, thank you. I love that, Stuart. Seeing around the corner, anticipating the changes.
Yeah,
And that's what we call being proactive because we often think
absolutely. Yeah,
that being proactive is when we face the problem, then we fix it. And say, oh, you were very proactive. No, 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 you're being reactive. But being
yeah,
proactive is anticipating the changes and seeing, as you said, what's around the corner and
yeah.
doing things like reviewing your schemes of learning, checking to see if it's keeping abreast of the changes. And you're right. We've gone through you're about our seventh change in curriculum across the board. Yeah. And you just have to ride with it, learn something new almost all over again and roll with it. And that's what makes teaching so dynamic as well. And that for me, that keeps it fresh as well. Changing the texts and not teaching the same text for 20 years, look into new texts as well. And, often we fall into the trap of, yeah, I'm going to do that unit because I like it and because I know it
Mm.
really well. But we really need to start to think about how we approach these things. Kosha said, yes, it does. The pet does help. Seeing around the corner, she said, I'm adopting this. Yes, Kosha, that's a brilliant one. Seeing around the corner, that is lovely. I'm visualizing it. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So it doesn't take you by surprise. And these things will definitely, and they do keep us motivated. And so when they do happen, the changes happen, we're able to adapt and adjust accordingly. So,
And it's
Stuart,
kind of nice. It's kind of nice to say, I was right. I told you, it
Yeah,
is kind
I
of
told
nice.
you. Yeah, I told you they were going to get rid of that in a few years' time. Yeah, yeah. I told you that speaking and listening was going to become compulsory. Great.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. And one way of getting over that, especially for the exam curriculum, is making sure that your key stage three,
yeah.
you're always, yeah,
Always
trying
keep that
new things.
fluid. Always keep it
Yes,
flexible and
keep it
experimental, and try
flexible.
new stuff there.
Exactly, exactly. Um, so how would you describe your teaching philosophy and how has that evolved over the years?
Oh, goodness me. Since 2001 to 2025, the one thing I've maintained is that I am child-centered, always student-centered. Try and see things and hear things the way they're hearing them and
Yeah.
adapt accordingly. Um, you know, no, I always get to know the students who are in front of me. I get to know them on paper. I get to know them on trips. I get to know them in the corridor, in the lunch
Mhm.
queue. I am a person who will do duties without expectation of payment or a snack, simply because it helps me to know how these young people are operating socially, emotionally. And when you know that, that can really embed into your teaching philosophy. As you're standing on the door greeting them, they know that you know them, and they
Yeah.
know that in that lesson you are going to help them as an individual progress to the next point they need to progress to. You don't
Mhm.
always need to have written that down. The philosophy is know your students, know what they need, not just what they need to learn, but what they need.
Yes, as a wholesome human being.
Yes, a
Yeah, and
holistic
not just
picture.
as a
Yeah,
learner. Yes,
yeah,
fantastic. And keeping it child-centered. This is why
yeah.
we're in the profession. It's not to please the head teacher, it's not to please the vice principal or members
Nope.
of the department. We are here to change lives. I love that. And in essence, you're saying there, Stuart, building relationships.
It is that. It is that. And it's not
Yeah.
easy, it's not an easy
No.
thing to actively build a relationship, or even to say, I'm actively building a relationship with you. It's something you
Mhm.
do. You have to walk it. You have to work through all of it. And some people can't do it.
And, I think it can be taught because I've said
Yeah,
to younger teachers before that to build a relationship, you need to establish routines
yeah.
in your classroom, outside of your classroom. And once you do that, your students tend to learn to trust you and they feel
Yes, it's
safe.
trust. Yes, yeah.
They feel safe because you're consistent and they know these are the expectations that Miss has, and this is what I'm expected to do when I'm in her classroom or in Sarah's classroom.
Yes,
And that gives them that level of safety, that feeling of safety and security. And from
yes.
there, yeah, they build that trust. Yeah.
And it's
And
interesting. A lot of new teachers will say, "Why do I have to do this?" And as a mentor or a leader, I have to say, just trust this process. Once you're through this, you will
Mhm.
see. And it's the most consistent pushback I get from young people, especially Gen Z, who do not seem to
Oh,
like
yeah,
ritual and routine.
yeah.
Well, actually, that is the one thing I do insist on
Yeah.
not changing. So let's
That's
make sure we're, yeah.
Yeah, that's another show as well, Stuart, because I'd love to probably explore and hear other people's opinions on teaching Gen Z
Yeah,
students.
yes.
And the alphas are coming through. The alphas are coming through. It's a different breed. And
Yeah. Oh, Gen Alpha, current year 7. Who are you? Why are you so confident? You're wrong, but
exactly.
you're very confidently wrong. I like that.
They will actually tell you how to structure your classroom and how to organize your seating plan. Yeah. The
They're
sixth formers
amazing.
were complaining. The sixth formers were saying, "Oh, they're too brave, miss. They're too bold. Why are they even looking us in the eyes?"
What is wrong with being brave and bold? We must capture
We
this.
must
Haven't
hone
we
it.
wanted this
We
from our
must hone it.
students for the longest time? We've wanted it, now we've got it.
Yeah, we just have to hone it. So, believe it or not, we only have a few minutes left. It's been such a wonderful show, but let's get through the last few questions. And what advice would you give to teachers who are struggling to stay motivated? Because we've heard about the mass exodus of teachers from the
Yeah,
classroom.
it's it's very simple. You know, don't leave before the miracle happens, and it really does happen. You just stay objective, take yourself out of it a little bit, and don't quit before the miracle happens. The miracle might just be that that one class actually does every task. That might be it, you know. And if you're a true teacher, you will keep going. You really will. But
Mm,
look after yourself first. If you don't look after yourself first, you are useless. You
yeah.
got to take care of your body and your
Mhm.
mind and your spirit, you know. Just because you're passionate does not mean you can be a success. You have to take care of yourself.
Fantastic. Oh, Stuart, what a gem you're leaving us with. Don't leave before the miracle happens because it will happen.
It
And
will.
it's that resilience, isn't it? It's that
Yeah, it
resilience,
is.
having that
Yes.
determination. I'm sure you've experienced walking into a classroom where students have given you a time. They go, yeah, in 2 weeks you'll be gone.
Uh-huh.
And
Oh, I've seen that. Yeah,
yeah,
the teeth kissing and the shuffling and the pen tapping. Yes.
mhm, yeah, you won't last. And 2 years later, they're like, oh, Miss, when you walked in, we said, yeah, we're giving
Mhm,
you 2 weeks. And look at that.
mhm.
You've outlasted us because we're now leaving. Oh, fantastic. So that would be the motivation for teachers who are struggling to stay
Yeah.
motivated. But what do you think schools or leadership teams can do to support long-serving teachers? Because
Sure.
sometimes, we're taken for granted that, yeah, you're all right, you're a dinosaur.
Oh, don't you just? I so dislike this idea of,
Yeah.
first of all, that experience is a bad thing. Experience is a good thing. It's to be celebrated and shared, and it's unfortunately, it's in the pay scale, isn't it? We no
Yeah.
longer have an excellent teacher or the advanced skills teacher. Even lead practitioners don't really exist truly. I think teachers of long experience should be celebrated. Should whether it's in a bulletin or in a shout out, or whether you just say to student teachers, go and observe this person, have a conversation with this person. There are teachers who have been teachers all their lives. They've never left the classroom. They've never been promoted, who are fantastic at turning up at 8:20 and leaving at 3:20 and doing everything. I think they are the absolute foundation of our profession, and they should be observed and praised because they've raised families, they're raising grandchildren, and they're keeping the school going. They're the absolute foundation.
I totally agree. And
Yeah,
their skill set should still be recognized and be used as well
absolutely.
to train and coach and mentor other members of
Yeah,
staff as well.
absolutely. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, because we know our leadership teams are getting younger and younger, and nothing's wrong with that. But sometimes what you do find is that there are some mistakes that are made as a result of that because there's no
Yeah.
one else there to guide because everybody's of the same level of experience. And so I
It's
think,
oversights. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, we need that balance. But at the
Mm,
same time, Stuart, as experienced teachers, we also need to make sure that we're expert teachers. And I,
mm,
I I know Emily's going to be speaking about that in a conference soon because you could be in the classroom for a long time, but you remain dormant and you haven't really learned much, and it's the
mm,
same thing over and over. So it is so important for us as well as long-serving members of the education that we also continue to make ourselves refreshed and new and coming with new ideas and as I said earlier, adapt to the changes. Stuart, it has been a pleasure.
thank
What
you.
an amazing show tonight. We've got about 2 or so minutes left. Would you like to leave us with a final thought if you were to sum up your teaching philosophy, which you shared earlier, in one sentence, one final message to all our educators out there? What would
Yeah,
it
I've been pondering this one.
be?
It's, to sum it up, remain responsive and adaptive, and always evolve with the community that you serve. and in the context of now. And I'm just going to add on to the end, try to see around that corner.
Yes, that is it. Try to see around that corner. And for those of you who are struggling with the motivation, wait for the miracle. Is that what you said?
Don't leave until the miracle happens.
Don't leave before the miracle happens.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Stuart. Thank you for those of you who've joined, those of you who are listening via other platforms. Thank you. I hope that you've managed to take something away tonight. We've learned so much, and Stuart has given us so many top tips. So if you've missed it or want to hear them again or remind yourselves, once this podcast is ready, I will share that, and please download and have another listen. There were so many takeaways. Stuart encouraged us, first of all, to remember that this is a role, and therefore we should separate ourselves from that and not take things personally. So we need to recognize that. Make time for ourselves. Have a hobby. Create a schedule that we try to stick to that will minimize the workload. And of course, make good use of AI. So thank you all for joining Teachers Talk Radio tonight. Thanks again, Stuart, for your honesty, your practical tips for keeping things fresh as educators. Thanks again, listeners, for tuning in. And please encourage your friends and family to download the podcast when it is made available. Have a prosperous 2025. Do tune in 2 weeks' time for another engaging discussion. And somebody just said, loved it. Sorry, not really a cat person. Love my dog. Can't wait for the Gen Z show. This new generation is definitely worth it. Love. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Have a lovely evening, everyone. Stuart, you've been amazing. Thank you.
Thank you so much. You too. Take care.
You've been listening to Teachers Talk Radio. Tune in live and listen back at ttradio.org. We look forward to hearing from you next time on Teachers Talk Radio.